The Therizinosaurus TLC finally has an official release date, and on September 30th, ARK's legendary Tickle Chicken is receiving one of its biggest upgrades in almost 10 years. This isn't simply a visual makeover either. Studio Wildcard is improving its combat responsiveness, controls, movement, visual progression, and personality while attempting to preserve the harvesting powerhouse that survivors have depended upon for years. It will also arrive as part of one absolutely enormous update featuring Unreal Engine 5.8, the Cerberax and the Gargantar. Today we're going to go through everything confirmed for the Therizinosaurus TLC, why September 30th is such an important date, and the complete history of one of the most useful and terrifying creatures ever added to ARK. And before we begin, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for all of the latest ARK news, and let's get in with it. So September 30th is officially shaping up to be one of ARK Survival Ascended's biggest release days of the year. Studio Wildcard has announced that the Therizinosaurus TLC, Unreal Engine 5.8, Cerberax and the Gargantar are all currently arriving together. That alone gives the Therizinosaurus TLC significantly more attention than it would receive inside an ordinary patch, and the engine upgrade is targeting tangible performance updates, platform-specific fixes, and stronger foundations for the future of ARK content. The Cerberax will continue the fantastic Tame Season 1, while the Dragantopia expansion pass owners receive early access to the enormous Gargantar dragon. However, for many long-term ARK players, the Therizinosaurus TLC could easily be the most personally meaningful part of this update. The creature has existed in ARK for almost a decade and has developed one of the strongest reputations in the entire game. The Therizinosaur was originally added to ARK Survival Evolved in patch 253 on December 23rd, 2016. The update also introduced creatures including the Troodon, the giant squid, the jellyfish, the Pegos, which I wish they never added, and same as the Troodon, which in retrospect finally made it a fairly traumatic Christmas present for ARK players. You could get robbed by a Pego, attacked in the darkness by a Troodon, and stunned in the ocean by a jellyfish. And if you somehow survived all of that, a giant territorial herbivore with claws longer than your body could be waiting outside your base. The Therizinosaur immediately stood apart from most of the creatures in ARK because it didn't look like your ordinary apex predator. It had feathers, an unusual upright posture, and belonged to the family of herbivores. New players might reasonably have looked at it and assumed it was harmless, and then they walked slightly too close, and that was normally the moment that the Therizino transformed an innocent trip through the forest into a desperate sprint back towards your thatch hut. Its enormous claws, surprising speed, and territorial behaviour quickly earned it a terrifying reputation, and the community eventually gave it an affectionate nickname of the Tickle Chicken, which sounds adorable until one is removing your armour and your favourite tame from existence. It became part of the classic early game ARK experience where you spawn on a beach, you gather your first resources, you build a small home, and begin believing that you're finally safe, and then a Therizinosaur wanders into your area. But unlike a giant carnivore that immediately advertises itself as dangerous, it could actually appear decisively calm. It would walk around gathering berries and minding its own business, right until a survivor accidentally crossed its invisible boundary, and that original behaviour is one of the areas being given more personality in the TLC. Studio Wildcard says wild Therizinos will become slightly more patient with survivors. Instead of immediately attacking someone who enters the territory, it will clearly communicate its intentions. It will stare at the intruder, spread its claws, and provide one final opportunity to move away. That warning should make encounters feel more readable without removing the danger. And if you ignore that display or continue moving closer, the result will still be a very angry Therizinosaur. And in fact, Wildcard says a provoked one will be even more dangerous than ever. I really like this direction because it gives the creature additional personality while preserving what made it iconic. It isn't suddenly becoming passive or friendly, it's simply giving players a chance to recognize a threat before those claws begin swinging. And that could create some brilliant moments for new players. You might see the creature lock its eyes onto you, slowly spread its claws, and immediately realize that you have made a terrible mistake. The TLC is also introducing a vicious new double swipe attack, and Wildcard has described the Therizino as remaining true to its established combat and harvesting identity, but with improved responsiveness and controls. And that distinction really matters, because a TLC shouldn't always completely replace the original creature. The Therizinosaur is already a valuable creature and occupies several important roles, and the purpose here is to modernize that experience, improve the areas that feel dated, and add even more character without destroying what players already enjoy. And movement is another important part of this overhaul. A mounted Therizinosaur will reportedly become much more agile than its size might suggest, and it will become capable of turning sharply and hopping onto or over obstacles that could stop creatures such as an Allosaurus or a T-Rex. And this could be a very useful quality of life improvement. Large creatures can feel awkward around bases, rocks and fallen trees and uneven terrain. A relatively small obstruction can turn into a complete navigation disaster in the world of ARK, especially when you are trying to escape danger or move a group of tames, and I think we've all been through that. Sharper turning and the ability to hop over obstacles make the Therizinosaur feel much more responsive to ride, and also a lot more scary when it's chasing you. We'll need to test the exact height and limitations of that hop when the TLC arrives, and you guys know that video will be on my channel on September 30th, but we're really looking forward to this. The visual progression could be one of the most interesting features, because Studio Wildcard says no two hard-working Therizino will necessarily look the same. Its claws and posture can reflect the type of work it performs, and a creature adapted towards delicate harvesting may display longer and sharper claws, while the claws of a powerful harvester can appear worn and chipped, and that gives your tame a visual history. Instead of every Therizino looking identical regardless of how it's been used, its appearance can begin communicating its role within your tribe. That could make breeding lines and specialized harvesters feel more personal, especially for players who keep the same creatures for long periods. And that exact implementation will be important, because we don't know yet every condition, progression stage, or visual variation involved, but the core concept sounds excellent. ARK creatures are ultimately more than a collection of stats. Players name them, breed them, build specialized saddles for them, and sometimes keep the same tame throughout the entire playthrough. And visual changes reflecting their work could help those creatures feel more individual, and harvesting has always been one of the Theri's greatest strengths. It's capable of gathering enormous variety of resources, with different attacks suited to different materials, depending on how leveled and it is used. It can become incredibly effective gatherer for wood, thatch, fiber, berries, and several other resources. And that versatility helped transform it from an early game nightmare into one of the most valuable utility creatures a tribe could be owned. Taming one has traditionally required knocking it unconscious and keeping it supplied with suitable food, while carefully maintaining its torpor. The process can take preparation, and obviously when you're dealing with a high level version, but once successfully tamed, the same animal once chased you through the trees becomes a worker and a defender. And that contrast is a major part of ARK's appeal. The creature that terrified you at the beginning of your journey can eventually become the creature protecting your base. And this is another really important part, because the Therizino developed another major role with boss fighting. And although different players and server settings produce different strategies, bred Therizino armies have long been a popular choice for difficult encounters, particularly the dragon. Their size and mobility can make them easier to manage some larger alternatives, and their ability to consume sweet vegetable cake provides very valuable healing during the extended battles. And a well-bred group supported by the right creature and rider setup can be extremely effective. And that gave the Therizino a rare combination of roles. It can gather resources around your base, defend your tribe, carry a survivor through dangerous areas, and participate in some of the biggest battles in the game. Very few creatures actually remain useful across many stages of progression, and that is exactly why Wildcard needs to be careful with this TLC. Changing too much could damage an established creature that players already love. Changing too little could also make the update feel purely cosmetic. So based on what's been revealed, the current approach appears to sit somewhere sensible between those extremes. The Therizino keeps its harvesting identity, but receives more responsive combat, improved travel, and additional personality and progression, Wild encounters should become more understandable, but not safer. And tame creatures should become more easy to control without losing the unusual weight and presence that defines it. So this update is going to be absolutely massive, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the different actual updates and TLCs to come. And for the Therizinosaurus, this update represents the chapter of the story that began back in December 2016. And if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. And if you're looking for a friendly place to come and play Ark Survival Ascended completely free, we have every single map available and every new update coming day one over in the LoadedCrysis cluster, which the link to our Discord is down below. Come meet your tribe today and have some fun. See you guys in my next video.